Hey everyone, welcome. I have a simple message for you today. Whenever you can, or whenever you are able, take a moment and check in. Have a look inside. How are you doing in there? You're in there. You live in there. You're the one inside watching. How are you doing in there? Is your inner world in conflict with the outer world? I'm guessing, most of the time, yes. It's a form of subtle suffering, often not so subtle. I prefer to call it dis-ease, the absence of ease, where it can be agitation, restlessness, boredom, resistance. You're just resisting what is. Wherever you are, I don't want to be there. I don't want this. I don't want to be there. This isn't it. This isn't happening. I want to be somewhere else. Some subtle form of resistance is usually at play, or you're stuck in time. See, the nature of life is never stopping. It's ever moving. It's like a lazy river, constantly moving ever forward. And a wise being flows with that lazy river. But your mind, my mind, the human mind, always wants to resist it or is stuck in time. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Because if you can flow with that lazy river, then you have an intimate relationship with reality. You're moving at the speed of life. And that's the way it should be, because that is just in harmony with life rather than a denial of life. So today I want to talk to you about resistance and being stuck in time. So let's talk about resistance. Resistance being, I don't want this. I don't want to be here. This isn't it. I want to be somewhere else. You're constantly resisting whatever you're doing. At work, running errands, at the gym, meeting with friends, a dinner party, holiday party, family gathering, etc. You have this inner voice, this running dialogue, this narrative that says, I don't want to be here, and creates this tension or friction. And then you find yourself just having to grind through life and just power through it. And everything just feels like an uphill battle. Does any of that resonate with you? It's amazing that the human mind creates just resistance to everything. It's such a denial of life. It is always overvaluing the next moment and devaluing this present moment. But all we have is the now, this present moment. Can you see that? And you say, well, yeah, but I've got so much to do. And I'm saying, what is the quality of your doing? Is there always resistance to whatever you're doing? And is this some deep-seated habitual pattern that you can break? Or are you just screwed and you're always having to resist? With awareness, you can discover that it is just a deep-seated habitual pattern, that you can break it. So whether you're stuck in traffic, at the airport with a plane delay, or at a family gathering that you just feeling all this resistance, I don't want to be here, this isn't right, I don't want this. Can you just let that go? Can you allow it to be and be in harmony with life? The answer is yes. And you simply have to bring awareness to it and allow it to be. Surrender and acceptance is so powerful, but you have to see it and see that you're resisting everything in life, every big and small event that you are experiencing in life. And by bringing awareness to it, you can just allow it to be. The line at the supermarket or at the bank, running errands, that inner voice, that dialogue that we all have, that narrative that's running in your head is always like, I don't want to be here. The next moment will be better. I just got to get through this. I got to get through my workout or through the workday or God, this little family gathering that I don't want to be here. And the irony is you still have to go to all these things, but now you're creating all this suffering on top of the event or experience that you're going to have anyway. This resistance is suffering suffering is resistance. And with awareness, you can just see that you can let that go. You can allow it to be. You're stuck in traffic. Okay, not ideal. But do you have to add that suffering, that layer of mind-made activity of just suffering, like resistance? I don't want this. Or can you just say, okay, not ideal, but here I am. As the book title says, wherever you go, there you are. Is it so hard to just be there? And can you see how painful and exhausting it is to be in opposition with everything you're doing in life on a daily basis, all the mundane stuff? It is so painful and exhausting to always be in opposition. And it's so freeing when you just surrender and accept and allow it to be and say, okay, I'm here. Maybe it's not ideal, but you don't need to add that layer of suffering. And you just let it go. Relax and release, and you let it go. Like, okay, I'm here. My plane's delayed 3 hours. I'm in the airport. Now, of course, there's situations where it's appropriate to remove yourself from that situation or walk out. But I'm saying when you can't do that, you still need to go run your errands. You need to go to work. You need to go to the family gatherings. You don't need to add this layer of suffering. It's this resistance that is creating so much suffering. And you can simply let it go. Now, there are some things that get sticky, and even if you bring awareness to it, you still can't seem to surrender, accept. A little trick I do is ask myself, can I surrender to my non-surrender? Can I accept my non-acceptance? It's really brilliant, and it works for me when some stuff is so sticky. My mind is just so hard-headed about it, and just go, gosh, I can't seem to surrender to this, but can I surrender to my non-surrender? Can I accept my non-acceptance? And you'll find it's like a mental jujitsu. It actually works. You're like, all right, not ideal, but yeah, I can surrender to this. And there's this peace that passes all understanding. And you're just like, all right, I can handle this. I can accept it. I can surrender to it. And really, spirituality is about the ability to accept reality, the ability to handle reality, not as you defined it to be or want it to be, but just to experience life as it unfolds. And can you surrender to that like the lazy river that's constantly moving, by the way? So the less resistance we have of that, we just go with the flow of life, the fluidity. It's really beautiful. So acceptance and surrender is really key and critical. And then just realizing that we're constantly resisting. So that one is fairly easy to understand because it's pretty tangible. The other part of it I want to talk to you about is we're always stuck in time. We have a very dysfunctional relationship with time. And we need to reconcile past and future. And what do I mean by that? It means to be complete with your history because we get stuck in time. See, the past is past. You cannot change the past, so let it go. Easier said than done, I get it. But you can't change the past. And the future is just thoughts of a perceived future. The future doesn't exist. Have you ever been in your future? And so we need to reconcile past and future. And until you can do that, you can't really come into the present moment. See, the mind creates time. And I don't mean what the clock on the wall says or your iPhone says. The mind creates psychological time, the illusion of time, past and future. But the past only exists in your mind, in language and in words. And the future is just thoughts about a perceived future. But that doesn't stop our mind, our crazy human mind, to constantly dwell in the past, dragging things from the past, carrying it with us, and then projecting out into the future, trying to predict and protect the future. You have one mind who's always trying to predict the future, and then that same mind is now trying to protect you from what it just predicted. But both the prediction and the protection are in the future. Can you see how dysfunctional that is? This is what I mean. You have such a dysfunctional relationship to time. We're trying to find certainty in uncertainty. The future is unknown, but the human mind demands to know it and wants to know it. And you spend so much mental energy trying to figure out the future. I have a mantra: let go, don't know. Let go of the past, don't know the future, and be okay with not knowing the future. All of this is easier said than done, but if you can shine a light on it, you can see the madness of trying to drag your past around with you, but also trying to strategize and project and imagine the future and trying to find certainty in uncertainty. And this is what I mean, we're stuck in time. And we can be stuck in time. Let's talk about the past here. Whether it's 5 minutes ago, 5 hours ago, 5 days ago, 5 years ago, or when you were 5 years old. We have these events that we get stuck. A real simple example, let's just say you had lunch with your best friend. You're now driving away from the restaurant and your friend said something nasty or mean to you. This is your best friend. And you're now reliving it, replaying it, rehashing it in your mind while you're driving your car away from the restaurant. Your body's in the car, but your mind is still back in the restaurant. You got stuck in time. You didn't fully process it. You didn't let it pass through you. If you're walking and you smell a skunk, you just keep walking. It'll pass through you. You don't go turn around and follow the skunk, but that's what we do with things that we don't fully process. We don't let it pass through. We get stuck in time. And there's big stuff and small stuff. There's childhood trauma where we get stuck with an event that happened when we were 5 years old, and now we're 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, and we're still reliving that and playing that out in our minds. But it's even the small stuff too. What your best friend said, what your mom said over the holidays, what your ex-boyfriend said, what your ex-wife said. Your ex-husband cheated on you and you're now a divorcee, and now you're just reliving that over and over ago, even though you haven't seen him in 3 years. You got stuck in time. You're in a completely different place here now, but you got stuck in time. As I said, this lazy river is constantly ever moving forward. That's the nature of life. But we get stuck, and it's like the river just stops flowing. And you need to let the river keep flowing because that's the nature of life. It's never stopping. It's ever moving. And you need to let go of that. I get it. It's super hard. But if you can see that and the dysfunctionality of us getting stuck in time, you can be free of it. So as I said, the past is past. You cannot change the past. So let it go. Easier said than done. Now, you can't go back in time and change the event, but you can change your relationship to that event or experience. You can change your relationship to that event or experience. Because the problem is, you've created a story or an identity around that event or experience. X happened, and because X happened, now I'm a failure, I'm a loser, I'm a victim. Everybody's favorite, I'm a victim. Everybody's a victim. My husband cheated on me 3 years ago. I'm a divorcee and I'm a victim. That was 3 years ago. Are you going to be stuck in time forever? But my wife stole my money and ran off with the kids. I'm a victim. X happened. Events happen. You have to let them go. Of course, you can learn from them, from that experience. But a wise being lets it go. And this is what I mean by fully reconciling your past and your future. But pain from the past influences fear in the future. So when you can fully reconcile past events, childhood trauma, stuff that happened to you 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days ago, if you can fully reconcile pain from the past, it helps influence fear in the future. A common example I've given before in other videos is you had your heart broken by somebody, and now you say, I'll never date again. But now you meet this super cool guy, and you're like, oh man, he's great, and he asked me out, I'm really excited. But you put up all these walls because your heart was broken before. You don't want to get hurt again. You don't want to go through any experience like that. Pain from the past influences fear in the future. And so now you sabotage this potentially great future relationship. And you say, no, I'm not going to go out with him, even though he sounds like the perfect guy and he asked me out. No, not going to do it. Can't do it. Because pain from the past influences fear in the future. Or you go, all right, I'll give him a shot. But you're at the date and all you're doing is comparing him to your ex that broke your heart. You're not giving that guy a fair chance either. And when you can see the madness of this and that you haven't reconciled past and future, you can overcome it by living present in the moment, in the now. A wise being does one thing at a time. One thing at a time. It's always present. If you're at work, you're at work. If you're driving your car, you're driving your car. If you're at the gym, you're working out. One thing at a time. Can you stay present in the moment? And just that flow of life, like the lazy river that just keeps moving. Can you go with that flow? Or are you always resisting and or stuck in time? You can actually resist and be stuck in time at the same time. You're really screwed because you're like, I don't want to be here, and I'm thinking about my ex-husband, and this really sucks. And you don't feel free. You don't have that joy and vitality anymore that I've talked to you about before, because there's a river of joy that flows within you. But when you always constantly resisting things and then being stuck in time with things that have happened either fairly recently or a few years ago, or childhood trauma that we continue to carry on. It's like baggage. That's why we use the word baggage. If you're carrying like 12 Louis Vuitton bags with you, you're just weighed down. Can you let it go? The answer is yes. That's why I started this and said, whenever you can or whenever you're able, take a moment and check in. How are you doing? Take a look inside. Is your inner world in conflict with your outer world? The answer is typically yes. You're resisting, and or you're also stuck in time. And so what I'm proposing to you today is to have an intimate relationship with reality, to move at the speed of life, to move at that speed of the lazy river. Just go with the flow. The things from the past, let them go. The past is past. You cannot change the past, so let it go. The future is completely unknown and uncertainty. Stop trying to find certainty in uncertainty. Stop trying to predict and protect everything. The human mind wants to know, but just recognize the future is unknown. You've never been in your future. You don't know what's going to happen. So stop trying to figure it out. Let go. Don't know. Don't know the future. I'm okay with not knowing what's going to happen. So you move at the speed of life. So to summarize, be total in what you do and be complete with your history. When I say be total with what you do, don't have any resistance. Be here now. No resistance. Even if it's not an ideal situation. You're at work, you're at the line at the supermarket or the post office, you're in a traffic jam, you're at the airport lounge, stuck 3-hour delay. Can you be here now? Can you surrender and accept it? And the answer is yes. So be total in what you do and be complete with your history, meaning reconcile past and future. Don't be stuck in time. You can do it. It's possible. You have to bring awareness to it and practice. What you practice grows stronger. But when you see it, when you see the madness and the dysfunctionality, you don't want it anymore, because that's creating all that suffering. That resistance is suffering. And you're like, I don't want that anymore. I had an altercation with a neighbor yesterday who came up to me and was very upset with me. It was like 5 minutes, but it was a little odd in the parking lot. As soon as she walked away, I walked my dog, and it was gone. Out of my mind. Fully processed. I let it pass through like that skunk that smells that I walked, and I just kept walking, and I don't smell the skunk anymore. I have a mantra, if it's not on the outside, it's not on the inside. She left, she said what she had to say, and she moved on, and I moved on. And that's what a wise being does. But that's where you get that peace, that inner peace that everybody wants so much. It comes from not dragging your past around and not being stuck in time, where you fully reconcile past and future. It's so powerful. And when you can see it and you can live from it and abide in awareness, it's a game changer. So start with small stuff. See if you can allow and surrender without any resistance to small stuff. Like, I got to go to the bank and the post office. All right, I can do that. And ultimately, you can build up to the bigger things like the holiday party or work event or something like that. And then just letting go of the small stuff. What a neighbor said to you, a colleague or what have you. And then you can ultimately go after the bigger stuff. It's so powerful. And it just frees you. And it brings you more into the present moment. And there's no suffering in the present moment. And that's where you need to be. And that's where that lazy river just flows, ever moving forward. And you're just flowing with it. And it's such a beautiful feeling. You're in harmony with life. You're in harmony with life. And it's such a beautiful thing. And that's the inner peace that we're all looking for. And so, as I said, it was a simple message. All day, every day, whenever you can, just take a moment and check in. Have a look inside. How are you doing? You're going to find that you're in resistance a lot. And then just go, I'm going to surrender. I can allow it to be. And you're probably reliving, replaying, rehashing some conversation like, you know what? I'm going to let that go. It's going to work itself out. You don't need to replay it 100 million times. It's going to work itself out. And all that mental energy goes away. And you save it, and it just builds greater joy and vitality within you because you're not expending so much mental energy, wasting it on this nonsense. It's been estimated we have 50,000 thoughts per day, and 95% of your thoughts were the same they were yesterday. We're just replaying, rehashing, recycling all this stuff over and over again. And I get it, some of it's seductive. I guarantee every one of you has someone in your mind that you just would love to tell off. It's so seductive. Like, man, I can't wait to tell her. Next time I see her, I'm going to tell her off and really speak my mind. Everybody has that. And it's like a fantasy, but it's so much wasted energy. If you can just let that go, just let it go. You're so much freer in life. This peace, there's a cascade of peace that turns to happiness and joy and vitality and ultimately love. It's such a beautiful cascade, and you go with the flow of life. That lazy river is such a beautiful metaphor. Because the nature of life is never stopping. It's ever moving. And you need to move with that flow. And that's how you do it, by stop resisting and stop being stuck in time. Onward and upward, love and light.